All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating intersection between our everyday hobbies, the judgments we face from the people closest to us, and how all of this ties directly into achieving your absolute biggest dreams. We're going to explore whether taking something like a video game, quote-unquote, too seriously actually makes you a loser, and how the way others judge you for it can actually be a massive indicator of your future success. Here's how we're going to break it down today. First up, are you a loser? Then, judging based on conditioning. After that, the flexibility indicator. Fourth, pursuing delusional dreams. And finally, keep your dreams secret. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Are You a Loser? The Video Game Dilemma. Picture this scenario from our source text. There's a guy who plays Counter-Strike, CSGO, for about 10 hours a week, right? And he's genuinely good. We're talking just one best-of-3 match away from making the EC Advanced League. So he's super proud. He shares this huge achievement with his girlfriend, and her reaction, she literally tells him that taking a game that seriously is loser stuff. Ouch, right? But honestly, this brings up a massive question that goes way beyond just gaming. Like, does dedicating yourself to a hobby actually make you a loser? Well, the true yardstick here isn't the game itself. Seriously, whether you're playing CSGO, building crazy model train sets, or painting tiny figurines, the activity doesn't matter. The actual test is whether this behavior is stopping you from doing the things you absolutely should be doing in your life. You know, if you're crushing your responsibilities, holding down your job, studying, and just generally keeping your life together, then 10 hours a week is just a perfectly normal, healthy hobby. It literally only hits loser territory when it leads to neglecting your actual real-world duties. Moving right along to Section 2, Judging Based on Conditioning, and Why They Really Judge You. So, when someone looks at just one single attribute of your life, like your CSGO rank, or honestly just the fact that you play games at all, and they make a massive, sweeping judgment about your character, you've got to pause. You have to ask yourself, are they treating you as a fully fleshed out person based on their actual lived experience with you, or are they simply projecting societal conditioning onto you? Meaning society tells them video games are for kids, so they just blindly slap that label on you without even looking at the context of who you actually are. People do this all the time. They use these super lazy proxies for judgment. Think about the classic one attribute trap, like people refusing to date someone simply because they use an Android instead of an iPhone, assuming that somehow means they aren't keeping up with the times. Or take cars, assuming literally any Tesla owner must either be a pro-environment liberal or a hardcore conservative Elon Musk fan. People take one tiny sliver of who you are and generalize it to mean a dozen other things. And listen, if you're dealing with someone who relies heavily on this kind of lazy proxy judgment, you are in for a seriously rocky road. Which brings us perfectly to Section 3, the flexibility indicator. Rigidity versus compromise. Imagine sitting down and telling your partner, hey, look, I play video games 10 hours a week. Sure, but you spend 10 hours a week just endlessly scrolling short-form content on your phone. It's kind of the exact same thing. Now, a flexible partner, they'll listen, they'll adapt, and they'll recognize the double standard. They actually have the capacity to change their mind. A rigid partner, on the other hand, is going to completely push back and absolutely refuse to budge. The key takeaway here is that a partner's willingness to be flexible around their beliefs is literally one of the strongest positive indicators of a healthy, long-lasting relationship. And this whole need for flexibility runs completely counter to the toxic advice we get fed on social media constantly. We've all seen those posts, right? The ones telling you to never compromise or to speak your truth no matter who gets hurt in the crossfire. It's the kind of advice that implies you should just selfishly pack up and move to New York to chase an acting career, leaving your 12- and 8-year-old kids behind just to go find your soul's journey. Actually, scratch that. That absolute refusal to adapt isn't empowerment at all. It is a surefire recipe for completely destroying the foundation of any real partnership. But hey, let's be super clear about this. Being flexible and supportive definitely does not mean blindly applauding terrible decisions. A supportive partner gives you a fair, honest shot, but they also know exactly when to step in and say, okay, enough. Like, if you've been chasing a pro career in Super Smash Bros. For 8 solid years and you've made zero income, a good partner will kindly tell you it's time to pivot. Or if you've got a 40-hour-a-week World of Warcraft habit that's actively harming your child's needs, well, those needs absolutely trump your hobby, for sure. True support means constantly evaluating if efforts are just being totally squandered. Let's pivot to Section 4, Pursuing Delusional Dreams, the Power of the Impossible.
So we hear the word delusional and we instantly think it's a massive insult, right? But the source text redefines this so brilliantly. A delusional dream is really just a dream that's currently limited by your own capability. That's it. You just don't have the skills for it yet. And the advice we're getting here is crystal clear. You shouldn't run away from these wild dreams, you should sprint directly toward them, because attempting the impossible is exactly how you build skills. And honestly, on a macro level, it's what actually pushes humanity forward.
To put that into perspective, let's just look at history. Think about transplant medicine for a second. There was a time when it was a completely insane, deeply delusional dream to look at a failing human heart, cut it out, take a fresh one from another creature, pop it in, hook up all the tubes, and just cross your fingers. Like, that sounded like absolute madness. But someone did it. And today, science is quite literally attempting head and full body transplants. Progress relies 100% on someone being delusional enough to just try.
And here's the coolest part. Even when these massive dreams fail, the journey itself is so incredibly valuable. The source text actually shares this pretty hilarious anecdote from the host. He once had this totally delusional dream to achieve ultimate spiritual enlightenment by becoming a monk. Well, that pursuit ended pretty terribly when, in his own words, he got laid. So game over for the monk dream. But was it a total waste of time? Absolutely not. The discipline, the introspection he gained on that failed journey, it built this irreplaceable resilience and skill set that he uses to this day.
Let's look at another perfect example of this, the massively popular streamer, Ludwig. Back in college, the guy was just completely obsessed with Smash Bros. He wanted to play it, commentate it, make videos about it, the whole shebang. His girlfriend at the time thought it was super lame and actually broke up with him over it. And yeah, his dream to go pro ultimately failed. But you know what? The video editing, the fast-paced commentary skills, and just the pure, unadulterated grit he learned while chasing that failed dream, that is exactly what forged him into the wildly successful, exceptional content creator we all know today.
And honestly, that exact same grit defines the entire Smash Bros. Community. It's like a giant puzzle. They've built this incredibly tight-knit ecosystem that just thrives, even when the actual makers of the game aren't supportive at all. It requires immense resilience. It's actually a resilience the host of our source material felt firsthand pretty recently. He tried playing a 1v2 Smash match against his own kids, expecting an easy win. Instead, he got relentlessly edge-guarded, with his kids just waiting to pounce on him like hyenas at a watering hole. No way around it. Surviving that kind of intense pressure builds serious character, both in the game and out in the real world.
Which leads us to our final point. Section 5, keep your dreams secret. The science and spirit of silence.
Okay, so if you have a delusional dream, and it doesn't explicitly require you to tell other people to get it done, you must keep it an absolute secret. I mean it, total radio silence. And there are two really profound reasons for this. One of them is rooted in cognitive psychology, and the other is deeply rooted in spiritual tradition.
Let's look at the psychology first. Sigmund Freud actually made this fascinating discovery. Words are very often a substitute for action. Like, if you talk about a deep, dark urge, it often reduces your actual drive to go do it. So, when you speak out loud about your huge, ambitious goals, it subtly activates the reward circuitry in your brain. It just feels so good to talk about it. But the danger here is that you end up reinforcing the behavior of talking about the dream rather than doing the brutal, hard work required to actually pull it off. Before you know it, you've become a talker, not a doer.
Now, spiritually, the mechanism is surprisingly similar. When you externalize a thought, it's basically no longer contained within you. Now, if you're venting out trauma, this is fantastic. You absolutely want to get that out of your system. But if you have a powerful internal goal, or say a sacred meditation mantra, sharing it diffuses its energy. Keeping a massive dream or a mantra a total secret actually forces all that energy to stay inside you. It compounds its internal power and essentially acts as a massive engine driving you forward.
So, if you've got this wild, delusional dream brewing inside you, stay hungry for it. Work quietly in the background. Grind away and build your capabilities day by day so that eventually that dream isn't delusional at all anymore. But until that day finally arrives, you've got to follow the timeless advice of Gandalf. Keep it secret, keep it safe.
All right, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to chew on today. Take a hard look at your own life right now. What completely impossible goal, what entirely delusional dream